Do you love comics, but feel comics doesn't love you? This is going to be a hard video to listen to, but buckle up. Hey there, this is Perch. I go through the various, requests and ideas, and lots of people have thoughts for videos. You may be thinking, "Hey, he's never going to get to mine," and the reality is, I'm backed up with videos. So I produce a lot of videos. Generally, I do these audio recordings about 3 to 4 a day on a commute. Sometimes it's a bad commute more than that. I'll get more and more salty toward the end. So if you get a video that's like super super salty, then you know that it's toward the end of the commute, and I've been in the car way too long. But I do get to them, and right now I'm uploading. I'm trying to figure out what to do for the start of next year. So I've got videos through the end of December already up, already loaded in, and ready to go. So like my kind of hope to do for the first year at least, and I don't know, is this too much content for people to consume? I don't know. But I want to have video a day just up in the can, ready to go, out. So no matter what was going on with my life, a video would go out the door and be there. So here we go. I don't know, maybe way too many videos, but what are you gonna do? But one of the kind of requests, notes, questions I think that struck me kind of hard was it's a refrain that I think a lot of people have said before, but I don't know, maybe it was this time of day or the way it was written. Was basically, what do you do when you do love comics? You've loved comics for a long time, but it feels very aggressively like you're being shoved out, like the people within comics do not want you around, like you've gone toward the indie route because you've been frustrated with the big two and kind of their attitudes, and the indie publishers and creators and others kind of push you out, and then you find yourself in a comic skate or movement like that, and you feel, all you want is good comics, but you feel yourself pushed out of that. You're asked to kind of take up arms and go to war and insult people and everything else. And even though you don't like these people who have made you feel unwanted, you don't want to spend your day going after them. You just want good comics. So you've supported some campaigns, some Indiegogo's, some Kickstarters, some other things, and sure enough, you now feel like you're being shoved out of that because once again, you want comics, you want good comics, and yet when you say things, you're mocked and laughed at. So what do you do when it seems like from all sides you are told to get out? You're told to your interest is not welcome. It's the refrain of, maybe it's just not for you. It's kind of ringing in your ears all the time. Or maybe you get you're just kind of the ego or the arrogance of the big publishers or creators or whoever they might be. Just you're not willing to, suck up. You just want to read a good comic. At the end of the day, all you want to do is read a good comic. What do you do? Um, I don't know is the unfortunate answer. I think there is a place you can get to mentally with comics where if you don't kind of shield yourself off early, it can send you down the rabbit hole of negativity where you just feel a constant barrage. And it is hard. I think I'll be online, I'll be posting a video or I'll do something and I'll get, one negative comment has the power to wipe out 25 positive comments. This is true anywhere in life. Negativity is much stronger of an impact to you than positivity. Now, there's a few people who are able to flip that model, and God bless them. I mean, that's a wonderful place to be if you can mentally get there. But it's tough. It's tough because it is and you build yourself up and you get yourself to a place, and the negativity is the stuff that kind of haunts you. It's the comments that kind of keep ringing through your ears hours later. It's what you can hear before you go to sleep. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm crazy. But at the end of the day, you just want to enjoy a story. You just want to enjoy a comic. So to have to wade through this kind of nonsense, at some point you go, you know what? It's just not worth it. These stories aren't good enough. I'm not able to, they're not powerful enough to take me out of whatever kind of nasty situation, is going on. I think that's why people have responded so positively to Hickman's X-Men run, because it has been immersive. It has, contributed to the feel of kind of what's going on, and these characters are written in a really rich and exciting way. And so, for the moment, it takes you out of whatever kind of negative situation that you're in, and you just get to enjoy a comic, which is really what I think most people want at the end of the day. They just want to enjoy what they paid for. They want to enjoy the story with these characters that they grew up with, or that they're meeting for the first time. Even really positive fans, even fans that are coming in new, who maybe have, do not have the history of the legacy, and they're coming in, they're seeing like the Champions is their first team book they've ever purchased and read, and there are fans, there are new customers who come in, and they're teens, and the parents like, hey, this might be for you, and they pick it up, and I've got people who love the Champions and like that book and like the characters, and this is kind of their first introduction into comics. And a lot of the kind of the railing and the anger and the negativity is about some of these new characters and some of these new directions and kind of the poor treatment of the old characters. Yet here's this new fan coming in buying the Champions, and even that person is going, I just, this is a common, phrase. Twitter is a garbage pile. I went onto Twitter and to look at some comics, and just like 20 minutes later, vowed to never go back again because it was just awful. Just people yelling at each other, anger, just, ugly fights from all sides. And it's funny because in most cases, unless you're really attuned and excited about the war, you don't want to see your favorite comic creator, whoever it might be, even if they're agreeing with you, even if they're kind of snarking on a topic or somebody you don't like, or not somebody, you don't know these people, but something you don't like, even if they're kind of going off about so some fan. This is one that always annoys me, I will say, is some fan will critique a book and maybe will mark up the art and say, look at this is dumb, look at this is dumb. Which I don't think is the most productive use of time, but whatever. I don't think it's the big sin that a lot of people do. I think that's what a fan community, that's what social media is largely about, is that kind of interaction. Fans are going to mark up books, and they're going to want to change things and quote unquote fix things, do things their own way. I think that's normal human behavior. I think a lot of artists and creators in comics, obviously do not like that activity at all. It seems to be one of the things that instantly triggers them to get really nasty, but it's normal. It's just as normal in the music community that people do remixes or talk about, this track is better than that track on a record or a CD. It's just as common in the movie industry, where people do recuts and other things. And in comics, it has such a visceral, ugly, immediate reaction in many cases. Yet, it's normal. I think this is normal human behavior. So a fan, I'm using this as a real world example. Fan buying the Champions, goes online, sees some remixes, if you will, as in the words of the customer, sees some remixes of some of the pages, and doesn't really care for them, thinks they're kind of funny-ish, I think was the word. And the creator just lashing out, and a bunch of the creator's friends. I mean, the pile-on happens where a creator, does a retweet of the, altered page, and with some really nasty comment like, this is really rude and offensive that you would ever do this, you little scumbag who's got an avatar based off of a cartoon character in your description. Cowardly, just really railing against this person. You think some things don't sound bad until you read them out loud. And I would encourage anyone, any pro creator fan, whoever it is, if you would all think, hey, is this tweet maybe a little bit too salty, a little bit nasty? Try reading it out loud. Literally say it out loud to yourself. And would you, and then now try and picture, would you say this to a person in real life? And and you'll be surprised how many things look normal-ish on Twitter, where when you say them out loud, you're like, holy crap, that makes me sound like a complete raging jerk. That's where that sits. This customer is like, I went on, I saw this stuff. It was ugly, and they weren't talking about the remix page. They were talking about this kind of lashing out. And it was funny because the customer didn't really. I mean, the joke wasn't that funny. The customer didn't really care about it and everything else. But what stuck in the customer's head was his angry lash out reaction. And you see this with a lot of people. And you see this with creators. You see creators kind of signal boost this kind of critique. You see other creators come on and shout at it too. You see fans of that creator come on and just kind of berate. It is leading a little mob, and it's happened in a bunch of cases. It's happened with indie books. It's happened with big publisher books. It's happened with big creators. It's happened with little creators. I've never quite understood it. And I remember the backlash and back and forth between it was Meyer's book, not Jawbreakers, but the other one. The other one, the black and white one, that was his first. I don't know, an early one, but it wasn't the Jawbreakers one. It was the other one. People will know. Leave me a comment below. You'll know. And what happened was there's this long protracted period that went on over months, where a panel would get posted. Somebody stole the book. I can't remember any of these names. Anyway, somebody pirated the book or got it somehow, posted up a page, grabbed a panel, and said, "Look at this trashy art in this book by Meyer." Yeah, he wasn't the artist though. I'm doing a terrible job of describing all this. But anyway, they posted it and they're like, "This is trash art. Oh my god, trash, trash, trash." And then in retaliation, and it was a pro. I think it was Gail Simone actually who did that. And then in retaliation, some people took a Gail Simone book and then they posted art of from one of her books up, and then it had some weird anatomy or something that was goofy and terrible, and they're like, trash it, trash it, trash it. And then Gail Simone or somebody who's related to her. I mean, what was it? Richard Pace did this at one point. I don't know. It went around with a bunch of different creators on both the quote unquote indie go side and the pro side, where they're taking pages from each other's books and they're like blah blah blah, and then their fans got into the party, and then everybody's doing it. And what was the ultimate result with that? I don't know. It did people have fun? I mean, I guess the people who were involved in that fight had fun, but to the majority of people, it just put a dark cloud over the whole thing, because it didn't feel like it was people doing it out of enjoyment. When Gail Simone was who's a big time, writing major books for comics, and has a big name, right? Much bigger than Richard Meyer or I apologize to the artist who did this book that I also can't remember. I apologize to both of you. I should remember the names, but at any rate, it seems what's the word, unseemly. It just seems trashy for a Gail Simone to be going to that level. It just does not, and I mean, and the fans ate it up. It's like her fans are like, look at her dunking on somebody. But it didn't make anybody feel good. It didn't drive any customer into the store to buy a Gail Simone book. I'm not sure what it accomplished. It certainly made fans of Meyer or people who are in that kind of indie movement more hardened in their heart, more hardened in their belief that they should go out and trash these pros, and the pros are jerks and who are against them. Like, nobody wins. Like, nothing in that situation won, other than people got to have some kind of fun Thursday afternoon Twitter, feuding and battling that benefited nobody. No money was made. No people were happy. And if anything, to the start of this, it again gives you the feeling that you may love comics, but comics doesn't love you. And that's a terrible takeaway. That shouldn't be how it is. I would hope everyone from Meyer, from Simone, from Mark Waid, Dan Slott, Ethan Van Sciver, blah, 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 names. Dan Didio, Jim Lee, Joe Quesada. I mean, whoever you want to throw in there, I would hope all of these people want people to read and love comics. Full stop, period. That's why we all got into the business. Whether you're in the business as a customer, meaning you're funding it, or you're a publisher producing it, or you're a creator drawing it, or whatever you might be, you are in the business. Too many people talk about, oh, I'm in the comics business now. Guess what? Think about this like stock. Okay, you go to the store, you buy a comic, you're buying it for an investment in many cases. It's like you're buying stock. You are in the business, and it's time you as a fan started thinking about it that way. You're in the business. Yes, you don't have your name on the comic as a creator. You don't have the producer credit, if you will. But when you took out your wallet and you bought a comic and you put it in a bag and you stored it in a box, you became part of the business. You're an investor now. And that's how you should look at your role in comics. You're part of it. There's not some, I mean, there shouldn't be in your mind this magical line between people who are truly creators and they're truly in the business, and you, the fan that gets dumped on. That shouldn't. If you're thinking that way, it's you gotta unplug for a few days, take a break, take a breath, come back, and realize that you're an important part of this business, all of you. And on the other hand, if you're a creator and you in your mind see the world in terms of like a red velvet rope, and you're on one side and everybody else is on the other, I would ask you to take a look at comic history and all the people in comics who are no longer in comics. And there are a lot of people, way more people, who were in comics and vanished out of comics, who were in comics as creators and now are not getting called for anything and are off working as an insurance job. I know an artist who's working at Walmart. I know I know many people who are off working tech jobs or got jobs doing graphic design for game companies or freelancing. One guy bought a drone and does photos of houses for a real estate group. I mean, you could be anywhere in 5 to 10 years, and history suggests you will be somewhere else. Odds are you will not be in the role you're in 5 to 10 years from now. Just playing the odds. I mean, if John Byrne, one of the most recognizable superstars of the comic world, is not working regularly or really at all in comics, you can't walk around and assume that 20 years from now you're still going to be, pumping out whatever it is you are. So some humility would be nice for everyone. I think if you have this feeling that comics doesn't love you, it's not, it's pushed you out, then maybe it's time to reconsider your role as an investor, as part of the business, and don't let other people tell you where you belong in comics. You belong. If you took out your wallet and you bought a comic, you belong. Congratulations, you're in the club. That's my message. Whatever else goes on, that's my message. What do you think? Leave me a comment below. Somebody please remind me what this comic is that I cannot remember and the artist. I felt it was clearly an indie book, and it was black and white and early stage. That was done by Meyer. I don't remember the book title or the artist. In particular, the artist. I started to feel very bad for the artist because I felt like that guy was just trying to do his thing and get a book out, and then he had a bunch of publishers at the big two, or sorry, creators in the big two who are just dumping on him. And maybe he did some in advance. I'm not saying he didn't. I don't know I don't know enough about the history to know if he was also involved in kind of a little micro war, and this is all just payback. Quite possible. I don't know. Regardless, this will sound religious here for a second, but there's this concept of turn the other cheek. So if somebody does something nasty, the best result is to let it go. Now I'm doing a Disney song. The best result is just not to feed that beast and keep the nastiness going back and forth forever. It's just in destruction. That's all it leads to. So I felt bad for that guy because he really got trashed by a bunch of people. I remember Simone and Pace and a few others just really went after him and called his art garbage and everything else. And that's and I think they were trying to point out or send a message like, this is what you do to us. So stop doing, this is how it feels. And I don't know. I don't think that's the best way to. I think. By the way, I don't think people who put up art and just rip it and critique it and go after people for every like, oh, it's you remember the bathtub in the bathroom scene where the bathtub was drawn in front of the door and it was weird, like it was just nobody knew why that was done. It was funny. I mean, to me it was funny. It was like an Easter egg that it was done that way. But kind of there was endless posts about, look at this trash art, this bathtub in front of the door, and it's like, I don't know. It was a mistake or an Easter egg, one of those two. Can we just do we? I mean, how much do we need to go on about this? I mean, really. And so I think there was a little bit of a revenge factor when they went after this guy, but I felt bad for him because I felt like he was just kind of trying to do the best he could, and does he have Jim Lee quality of art? No, of course not. But he didn't deserve any of that. Neither did the person who drew the bathtub from the door, whoever that was. All right, I've now basically remembered nothing for a lot for in many different fronts. So I'm gonna quit now while I'm very behind. Hey, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this. Please keep loving comics. Yeah, it sometimes does feel like they don't love you, but you're in charge of you. Love what you want to love. That's what I say. Like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend, please. I'm on Twitter at Comic Perch. Keep sending me ideas. I like them. And thanks for listening.